Into the boroughs, the faithful tune in. Gary Mack's in the booth, let the musings begin. Orange and blue, through the highs and the lows, breaking down every pitch, cause that's how it goes. It's MetsMusings, where the stories ignite. A recap, a rant, and a Saturday night. Stats and passion, a voice fans trust. All for the team that's forever with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MetsMusings. This just breaking as I record this. New York Mets today announced the departure of manager Carlos Mendoza. He has been fired. Andy Green will take over as interim manager for the remainder of the 2026 season. The announcement made by Mets president of baseball operations, David Stearns. So it's official. The shoe has finally dropped on Carlos Mendoza. We knew it had to happen. We are now at the halfway point, maybe a game over of the season. The Mets have performed terribly. They're on a 6-game losing streak. In 5 games, they gave up 50 runs. They just got swept by the Cubs in just an awful debacle on Wednesday in a doubleheader. 6 errors. Marcus Semien, the whiz, supposedly the defensive whiz, made 2 key errors in that game. Bichette made an error. I mean, it was just a sloppy game all the way around, sloppy doubleheader. And the Mets dropped both games, and that was the low point of the season. And then they dropped last night's game again. And today, Carlos Mendoza is paying for the poor play. Is it his fault? Yes and no. It's never the manager's total fault. Let's be honest about that. Never is. Guys have to produce, and when they don't produce, then the manager ends up paying for it. This team has not produced. This team has not been well constructed as well. Lots of injuries. But, a lot of the guys that came had a history of injuries that they brought in. Jorge Polanco and Luis Robert Jr. Remember him? These guys have come with a history of injuries, and they're leading up to it. Lindor's been out most of the season so far with an injury. He's back now. And so it's always a little sad to see somebody lose their job, a manager. I liked Mendoza. I thought he did a great job in 2024. I thought he did a good job last year until the collapse. This year he just looked confounded, lost, whatever. Don't know the reasons why, but that's the business. You're hired to be fired. The Mets need some consistency, though, in their coaching. They have to hire a manager that's consistent. And short of a rebellion in the clubhouse, they have to stick with that manager. This, just in my opinion. Win, lose, or draw, they have to stick with them a little bit longer. I mean, we've been through now Luis Rojas and Buck Showalter and Carlos Mendoza now and Mickey Callaway. We've had a string since Terry Collins left. And when were the Mets last successful? When Terry Collins was here. So I don't know what the difference is. Maybe they're getting a little too quick on the draw, getting rid of some of these guys, but this had to happen. It just nothing was going on with this team. Nothing was going on with Mendoza, and he just seemed lost and bewildered. And I think that's really the big reason why he's gone. But the players have to look at themselves. They have to look in the mirror, and if they like Carlos Mendoza, then they have themselves to blame for his departure or his firing because it's all on them. They're just not they're not performing and they're not playing to the back of their baseball card. And somebody's got to pay the price. And as usual, it's always the managers. So um, it's not a good day in Mets Nation. Some people will celebrate. They didn't like Mendoza. They're glad that he is gone and they can move on. But, the grass isn't always greener either. So we'll see how it shakes out. It's just it's not a good day for the organization when you have to terminate somebody in that position. It means there's a problem, and as we know, there are problems with this team. So that's that. Let's get to other news. Francisco Lindor return really hasn't had much of an impact so far. Um, Juan Soto, we're gonna have to watch him now because his back locked up. He has returned, but this could be something that's on and off, you know, throughout the rest of the year. The Mets have placed second baseman Marcus Semien on the 10-day IL with a hip flexor strain. Infielder Ronnie Mauricio, who was just activated and assigned to AAA on Wednesday, was called up, played shortstop last night. Additionally, right-hand reliever Daniel Duarte has been recalled, while Jonathan Pintaro, who served as Wednesday's 27th man, has been returned to Syracuse. The Mets traded left-handed pitcher David Peterson to the Chicago Cubs and received minor leaguer Cole Mathis in the deal. Mathis is an infielder, 22 years old, drafted in the second round of the 2024 draft by the Chicago Cubs. He was the organization's number 9 prospect by Baseball America and number 13 according to the MLB pipeline. He's currently playing in High A, where he's hitting 260 with an OPS of .8611 to go along with 3 home runs, 22 RBIs. Between low A and high A this season, Mathis has 10 home runs, 39 RBI to go with his 272 average. He's played mostly at first base in his minor league career, but has some third base experience. So that's what's going on with the Mets in other news. I did want to talk today a little bit, if we may, about this whole Spider-Man mask and celebrations in general. But with the news of Mendoza, I think I'm going to skip that. Suffice it to say, get rid of the freaking mask. You're 13 games under 500. There's no need to celebrate a home run when you're losing in a game. Get rid of the mask. Get rid of all the hijinks and high fives and made up handshakes and all of that crap after somebody does something that they're getting paid to do. That's the key to getting paid to do that. They're getting paid to hit a home run. They're getting paid to hit a sacrifice fly. They're getting paid to get a sacrifice bunt. You don't have to celebrate it. Now, Where did the Mets go? Well, now we've got rid of the manager. We traded David Peterson. Does that mean that the doors are going to open up and the team is going to be traded away, half of it? I think it should be. I think it's time for a rebuild. Be honest with the people. Don't try to patch things together because you can't say in New York that we're rebuilding. Yes, you can. We're rebuilding. It's obvious. So they need to move the guys that they can move. Jared Young, who's been a great surprise, and I hate to see him go, but if you can get prospects for him and decent prospects, trade him. Mark Vientos needs to change the scenery. He's got to go somewhere. He may be someone that somebody wants. I know he's not hitting right now, but everybody thinks they can fix somebody. They need to see if they can move Freddie Peralta, maybe even Sean Manaea. Uh, Brooks Raley, as much as I hate to see him go, he's probably someone that could get somebody. Luke Weaver, the way he's been pitching, he may be a possibility to move and to get some decent prospects. It's going to be tough to get rid of Luis Robert Jr. because he's been out most of the year and he's not doesn't seem to be coming back anytime soon. So he may be a tough move. That's the kind of guy you just got to release. Maybe you move a Tyrone Taylor when he comes back as a piece. The team would like him as a piece, a fourth or fifth outfielder in a stretch run. Jorge Polanco, another guy. You're probably not going to be able to move him. Couple of interesting guys that I would look into trying to move. One would be Bo Bichette. You may be able to move him because even with his contract, he has an opt-out clause at the end of the year. So if you were to trade him, the dollar amount would not be that high at this point in time. He's received probably half his salary, so the other team would only have to pay half the salary. And if the Mets kicked in some of that, they may be able to get a decent prospect for him. So that's one to watch. Bo Bichette. Francisco Alvarez, I think they got to move him. And by the way, Francisco, ditch the pink. All right, it's tiresome now. It's really tiresome. Maybe they can move him. I mean, to me, he's been a bust. He's hit a couple of home runs. Did he come back? Maybe some team would like that. Some contending team. Maybe a change of scenery would help him. It's time for him to go bye-bye as well. That's another guy. So then everybody says, well, who's going to play in these positions when these guys are gone? Well, you know what? If you can trade Young and Vientos, that opens up a spot for Ryan Clifford. Put Ryan Clifford at first base. Let's see what he can do. Let him play without pressure for a half a season. He'll have enough pressure on him trying to stick in the major leagues. Do what you did with Benjamin Ewing if you think he's got the same kind of makeup as they do. They've played that guy. Think about this. Those guys came up. Benj in particular, he came up and was hitting like what? 086? Now he's up to like 259, 260. That's incredible. These kids, him and Ewing, for the most part, they've sat them at times against really tough left-handers, but they have faced a lot of left-handed pitching. A lot of left-handed pitching. and they've done fairly decently against it. Now, I'd like to see Baines cut down on his strikeouts a little bit. I'd like to see both of them cut down on their strikeouts, to be honest. But you know what? The job that they're doing defensively and as well as offensively has been terrific due to the fact that they were thrown into this. And as I said, they played every day for the most part. They played against righty pitching. They've played against a lot of left-handed pitching, and their attitude seems terrific. So that's why I think you got to get rid of some of these other guys before they ruin these young kids, and bring up more kids. Then let's see what we got. If we don't have it, we don't have it. Marcus Simeon's another guy that they need to trade or release. He just went on the IL with a hip flexor, so who knows how long he'll be gone. But the trading deadline's still a month and a half away, so they have time. He can come back, and if he can, perform a little bit, they can move on with him. But they got to move on from him. Play Mauricio at second base or Beatty at second base. See, it all depends upon what you trade now. If you don't trade Bichette, you leave Bichette at third, you play Beatty at second, and Mauricio at second. Move them in and out. Okay? You got Clifford to play. You bring Clifford up to play first base. You have Soto for left field, Baines and Ewing. You have Mendoza as your fourth outfielder. I'm sorry, Melendez. And maybe you bring another guy up. Maybe Morabito comes up for a while. I mean, there are ways to do this. You trade Alvarez, you bring up Hayden Senga. Or maybe even Kevin Parada. Let him get a taste. And Torrens becomes your everyday catcher. I'm not worried about offense from that position at this particular point in time. That position has not had offense just as much as every other position, it seems, on the diamond. Now, do you try to trade Lindor? There were rumors that the Yankees and the Phillies have asked about him and offered more money and things like that, but he doesn't want to leave. I don't know how true it is. Those things get started on social media. You don't know who says what. But maybe you try to move him. You're never going to move Soto, I don't think. So, he's going to be stuck here. But you have to do something. As far as the pitching, you bring up, if you could trade, Kodai Senga is another guy that's got to go. And again, there's a rumor that he has requested a trade from the Mets. So now I know what everybody's thinking. Who's going to take Kodai Senga? Well, maybe a team like the Dodgers might take Kodai Senga. Don't forget, they've got other countrymen of his out there. Maybe that would make him comfortable. And maybe he would perform better for them, for the Dodgers. So you'd have to see. But I'm sure the Dodgers, any contender, the Rays maybe would be willing to take some guys. The Indians, who knows? Oh, the Guardians, excuse me. But you have to shop and you have to try to get rid of some of these guys. Did anybody think we'd be able to trade David Peterson? Who, by the way, is he was a good pitcher. I don't know what happened to him. it almost makes you wonder if there's something wrong again with we've discussed this before, but there's something deeper in this organization. And until somebody can prove me wrong, I still think it's the analytics. I think they're back to this relying on the analytics. And I think it's hurting these guys. I think there's too much information. And instead of going out and playing ball, they're thinking. And you can't think and play. Yogi Berra said you can't think and play ball at the same time. There's something that's not right. That we can get these good ball players and they show that they're good, and then all of a sudden they go south. There's something not right there. But we'll see. It is going, as difficult it is to watch now, it is going to be something the next month and a half off the field more than on the field to see what they do to rebuild their farm system, or add to their farm system, I should say, and who they get rid of, and if they bring anybody in to replace them with trades. That can happen as well. It doesn't have to be all prospects. Will they bring in certain players? We shall see. And then the winter will be interesting to see if they sign free agents, if they sit out. Of course, the CBA is up, so that's going to be a whole other thing on top of everything else. So, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be difficult for the next couple of months to watch. But we'll see what happens as we get closer and closer to the trading deadline. All right, let's take a break and come back right after this.
Hi, this is Leonard Hollywood Aberman, and I'm here with my dear friend and co-host on the Baseball and Barbecue podcast,
Jeff the Oak Coot Cohen, and you're listening to MetsMusings with
Gary Mack.
For baseball histories, stories, and great interviews with authors and players, listen to Baseball and BBQ. For barbecue, we have great pitmasters, recipes, interviews.
Just great things. Listen, there's baseball podcasts, there's barbecue podcasts, but there's not a podcast that has both. We do. You're going to love it. Baseball and barbecue, great guests, decent hosts, but you're going to love it. So
yes,
tune in.
We have a lot of fun, and it's available on all your podcast apps.
And looking at or down on the farm, let's check in and see who's hot and who's not this week. Nick Morabito, he is the hottest hitter in the system over the past week or so. Playing for AAA Syracuse, Morabito slashed .333 with 3 home runs and 4 stolen bases, and was named the Mets minor league player of the week. His improved plate discipline is drawing attention, and maybe we'll see him up in Queens sometime soon. Jonathan Santucci has been hot. The Double-A lefty fired 6 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts, continues to lower his ERA, putting himself in good stead for a promotion to Syracuse, or maybe even higher. Let's see about that. Let's get him to Syracuse first. JT Benson, he's been hitting with power for the Brooklyn Cyclones. He earned Player of the Week honors recently. He has continued to provide extra base pop and has become one of the more interesting of the breakout stories in the organization. Every year you get the 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that break out that they weren't expecting, that break out and come out of nowhere. And that's what JT Benson is doing this year, as well as some other guys. Nicholas Carreno's been hot. Another Brooklyn Cyclone, right-hander. He's been dominant, carrying a sub-2 ERA and missing plenty of bats. His slider has become a major weapon for young Mr. Carreno. So let's watch for him as well to move through the system and possibly up to the big club. Who's not? Well, unfortunately, Jonah Tong has been it's been a struggle for him. He remains one of the system's best arms, but his reach and stretch has been a little bit rocky. He was sent back to AAA after coming up to the big club, and he struggled with his command. So he's in for a bit of a cold spell until he can get his command of his pitches and throwing strikes, get that under control. Gregory Lewis, he had a rough outing for Brooklyn, surrendering a late game collapse that turned a close game into a loss. He struggled this past week. Bryce Jenkins, and he has been struggling with St. Lucie recently, giving up a lot of runs. So that's the who's not and the who's hot in the minor league as far as the prospects, as they have turned the corner to the second half. So let's take a look at the standings as they are today, going into tonight's games. Syracuse is 2-1 on the second half. They are 1 game back of first place, and for the entire season, they are 40-38. Now, don't forget that the minor leagues play a first half winner and a second half winner. So if you don't make it the first half, you can still make the playoffs by winning the second half. So that's where the change in standings come about. They start fresh at 0-0 in the second half. Binghamton is 1-2 in the second half, and they are 1 game back. And in the 5th place, 28-44 overall for the season. Brooklyn is 2-4, and they are 2 games back in 5th place, and 27-43 overall for the season. St. Lucie is 2-3. They are 2 games back, and they are 35-36 for the season. They are in 3rd place in their division in the Florida State League. So that brings you all up to date with the minor leagues, the standings, who's hot, who's not, and where do we go? As far as the Mets are concerned, they have 3 games with the Phillies remaining on this homestand, a homestand which they have been without a win so far. So let's see what they can do against the Phillies, who have been playing good ball again. The Mets then conclude June by heading Toronto and then Atlanta, where they will be on July 4th, which will bring back memories. As those of you that are old enough to remember some classic July 3rd and 4th game, excuse me, between the Mets and the Braves. So that should be an interesting road trip for the Mets, and we'll see. With their new manager, their new interim manager, Andy Green, who is taking over today for Carlos Mendoza, as we reported. So Christian Scott is, I think, due to come back this Saturday at home against the Phillies. Zach Thornton has been called up. He will pitch, I believe, this evening is the report, against the Phillies. We'll see how young Zach Thornton does. Then after the 3-game series, as I said, they hit the road for Toronto for 3. And then they go to Atlanta for 4 before returning home the 7th of July. So that's your next week and a half or so. Schedule with the Mets. You know, let's hope for the best. I mean, it's not it is not an easy time right now, and of course, with today's news, doesn't make it any better. But it is what it is, and we shall watch and see what goes on. So, if you like the show, please like it and subscribe on YouTube or Rumble, or check out the audio on any podcast app. We're on them all. You can't miss us. So until next time, remember, very difficult, but guys, try to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go, Mets. I'm Gary Mack. I'll see you next time on another edition of MetsMusings.